Giannis. So good evening, good afternoon. So being the last speaker of the day, I'll try to pin down a few sort of issues that we have to bear in mind when we talk about future of work, future of skills in Latvian context. And to start with, in terms of digital skills, and this is in the core of our discussion here today, Latvia stands very low. We have heard that in terms of digital economy and society index, we stand in 18th place in Europe. But when you look specifically at the human capital digital skills, we are third from the bottom. And unfortunately, the situation has just deteriorated over the last 2 years. And we are not improving in that. So together with the rapidly changing labor market, and another issue that our adult population is very, very passive in learning. So we can see that it's just 8 out of 100 people who over the last months have been involved in any kind of training, compared to about 30 people in Finland and Sweden and even 20 in Estonia. So together with that, and with the rapidly aging labor force and the development of the labor market, that seems to build up in something that could become a crisis. So why are we not learning? Well, this is what people say. First of all, it's too costly. Then they say they cannot find time for because of the work or because of the family, and also they say they haven't been able to find suitable the trainings that they were interested in. And in particular, referring to this latter one, there could be several issues to that. One could be, well, they were just not successful in being able to find the right training. Maybe the training was not available, or maybe they didn't know what would be appropriate from them or what they needed. So where does this information should come from? And who should sort of anticipate and forecast what is needed in the economy? Well, Latvia, in fact, has a pre-developed labor market anticipation and forecasting system. It's referred to as DATAPS. So this is a system that is built to forecast what are the labor market needs in the economy, and it in the core of it is a model that forecasts short-term and medium to long-term forecasts in the labor market, and it is developed via a network of involved institutions. So the main parties or stakeholders there are the 3 ministries: Ministry of Economics, Education, and Welfare, as well as their sectoral expert councils that are in fact that conduct the skills assessments that are needed. And then there are a number of other institutions. So altogether, it looks like this infamous figure that depicts how the cooperation in the system looks like. Along with the figures, the consultants have provided also ways how to make the system easier and less heavy. But the bottom line is still clear that there's a lot of cooperation, a lot of people are and parties are involved, but it's not very clear like who is responsible, like who is the one leading and leading the development, like driving the whole system. And further to that, 2 or the 3 things. The forecasting system is built in it's very up-to-date and modern model, recently renewed. But the fact is that it's very heavily based on the current statistical data. And it has a very, very little forward-looking perspective to that. So everything we've been discussing here today about future work and what skills and what disruptions in the market there would be, the model, in fact, doesn't take that into account. And the second thing is that, well, what the forecast is can forecast the labor market needs in terms of occupations, industry, and education level. but not in terms of skills. So we can pretty well get information on how many drivers, lawyers' assistants, or cashiers we will need in the future years, but it doesn't say anything about like what skill set the people will need. So the results of the model, they're there, but they are very difficult to use for like specifically planning the labor market, the planning the education, and especially when it comes to adult education. And further to that, we also have to say that there is very little in-depth research available to support the decision making in the field. There are some sort of good initiatives, and here I think we have to mention that Ministry of Education is developing a state research program in education that hopefully will sort of give grounds to provide good research and analysis of what's happening and answer the questions that are necessary for decision making. There are also sort of programs or projects such as one on assessment of competencies in the higher education and things like that. But in principle, the education, the research basis for the purposes is very, very weak. And also, we haven't been very successful to actually map the skills that are available in the Latvian economy and what do we need. So, of course, therefore, there is no opportunity to make also good decisions. So there are some sort of good news to that as well. The PIAC study, the OECD assessment of adult skills, is forthcoming in 2022. We are somewhat late with that, but at least it's coming. There are some sectors who have strong organizations and who pretty well have been able to sort of assess what are the skills necessary. There are also a few sort of smaller scale research, like we are doing one in SSC Riga about sort of establishing the hot tech list for Latvian economy based on job ads and LinkedIn profiles. But still, that's not enough. Of course, one way to sort of go about it is to go and see what the employers do. We have to realize, of course, that this is a crisis situation. So companies have cut down the training budget in full or half, and then there are small and medium-sized enterprises who have been especially vulnerable in the situation. But still, in autumn last year, ERDA, together with SSC Riga, we made a study. We surveyed the largest Latvian exporting companies, asking them, so what are the skills or the courses they provide or pay for in terms of training for their employees. And so this is what we found. So we found that in the first place was social skills, then there were people management skills, customer service, communication. Only then followed by software and computer, like digital skills, specific or general. So, and in particular, looking at the top three, we saw, well, in terms of like specific skills, it was a lot about teamworking, negotiation, cultural differences, leadership, goal setting, et cetera, a lot of soft skills as we call them. So this actually came as a surprise for us. Because we somehow expected that, well, there will be a list of technical skills that the companies train. So we did a little more investigation into this by organizing a set of focus groups. And what employers told us was, well, digital skills is a hygiene factor, basically. We don't employ people who don't have the respective digital skills. And young generation come with proper digital skills, and they don't know how to communicate. This is what they tell us. So, of course, this is just it is a small-scale research, and by no means the exporting companies can be the sort of representative sample of all of the employers. But I think it's still quite revealing that it's not just the digital skills, but it comes together with a set of other skills that are complementary to that. And therefore, to sort of finish up, I think if there were sort of three challenges that I want to point out in terms of sort of Latvia's context, is first of all, we have to find a way to properly map what is needed, what is available in the labor market, and what is needed. And here I'm saying it's not just enough to say, well, we need digital skills and problem solving or something of the other soft skills. We have to know very precisely, like, what are the skills that are needed. And then we have to find the right balance between ones and the others, between what to train in the sort of digital skills and then from the others. And we also have to remember that part of the competencies cannot be just trained in, I don't know, in short courses, in hours of training. Something like critical thinking, creativity, things like that. Those are the skills that are very much needed in the future labor market, but they can be trained only through whole education system. So it's extremely complex system we have here. So it's by no means trivial, and therefore I think it's very important that there is one of the stakeholders sort of takes the lead and is responsible for driving the whole, or the driving is then sort of being responsible for the skills development. And so thank you for the attention, and